This is Pre-Algebra Chapter 1, Lesson 1, Expressions and Variables. The goal of this lesson is to evaluate and write variable expressions. There are 5 vocabulary words that will be used in this lesson: numerical expression, variable, variable expression, evaluate a variable expression, and verbal model. I'll start with numerical expression. A numerical expression is a mathematical sentence with only numbers and one or more operation symbols. A variable is a single letter that is used to represent a quantity in a math problem. A math problem that contains a variable is called a variable expression. It's a combination of terms, operations, and at least one variable. To evaluate a variable expression, you will substitute the given value for each variable and perform the indicated operation or operations. A verbal model can be an effective way to write variable expressions. A verbal model is an expression or an equation that uses words to describe the math. It's a real-life example. Example 1 asks you to evaluate the following expression: 3 times b when b equals 90. In example 1, we will be evaluating the expression 3 times b when b equals 90. We know from our definition above that to evaluate a variable expression, we are going to substitute the given value of the variable into the expression to replace the variable. That means we will be replacing the variable b with the value 90. So our new expression becomes 3 times 90. The operation is multiplication, and our final answer is 180. Now that you are in pre-algebra, it's important to remember to avoid using the symbol x to represent multiplication. It may be confused with a variable, so we now use the dot or parentheses to represent multiplication. In example 2, when you are evaluating expressions with 2 variables, it's important to substitute the correct value to its corresponding variable in the expression. X equals 9, so we will plug in 9 for the variable x, and y equals 5, so we'll plug in 5 for the variable y. The operation in our expression is addition, so our final answer is 14. Example B, the operation is multiplication. We still substitute the values for x and y, which are 9 and 5, but now we will multiply to get an answer of 45. You will complete these 3 checkpoint problems on your own. Please pause the video now. Great job! Your answers are 20, 6, and 4. This table is important. It is a list of common words and phrases that indicate the different operations. So we have addition phrases and words, subtraction words and phrases, multiplication words and phrases, and division words and phrases. The words and phrases that are used to represent the different operations are important to know when writing variable expressions from word problems. This situation says that you have a 350-page manuscript that needs to be edited very quickly. You are going to divide the number of pages among several editors. You want to give the same number of pages to each editor, so use a verbal model to write a variable expression for the number of pages given to each editor if you know the number of editors. A good rule when solving word problems is to read the problem to yourself at least 3 times. I have read it to you once, so I recommend pausing the video and reading it to yourself at least 2 more times. Now that you have read the problem at least 3 times, you want to think about what operation or operations you are going to have to use to solve this problem. I used the table above to identify my words that represent the operations, and I discovered the word divide. Now I know that my problem is going to involve division. Now that we have discovered the operation that we're going to be using, we want to look for any other important information that may be hidden in this word problem. Something important is that this manuscript is 350 pages. Another thing to note is that you want to give each of the editors the same number of pages. Now we have the information we are going to use to plan how we are going to solve this problem or write this expression. So we know that the word divide indicates division. We figured that out during our thinking step. We know the solution that we're looking for is the number of pages that each editor will get. To get to that solution, we have to divide the total number of pages by the number of editors. Since we don't know how many editors there will be, we are using E to represent the number of editors. E is our variable. Now that we have our verbal model written, we can substitute the values we know into the algebraic or numerical model. In this case, our model is algebraic because there's a variable. We know that the total number of pages in our manuscript is 350, and we know that we do not know the number of editors, so we are going to use our variable E. The last thing we need to do is write our solution, and it's always important to write your solution using a sentence. So that means the number of pages for each editor is 350 over E. Now that we are in pre-algebra, we no longer use this symbol for division, so we're just going to cross this one out. The number of pages for each editor is 350 divided by the number of editors, 350 divided by E. And you have successfully used our tips to solve this word problem. Read the problem at least 3 times. Think about the operation or operations you are going to use. Identify important information. Plan the verbal and numerical models. And then you get your solution.